So 3.4 goes over the fundamental theorem of algebra. Instead of going through all of this wordage, what I want you to look at is different polynomials. Within these different polynomials, you have degrees. We've gone over this before. Your highest power is the degree of the polynomial. That degree of the polynomial tells you how many zeros or roots or answers you will have if you set that expression equal to 0 and solve for the variable. In something like example A, you have the first degree polynomial because you have x to the first power, which means you're going to have one solution. So if you set that equal to 0 and you solve, you get x is equal to 2. So it's just literally one solution, or 1, 0, 1 root. If you look at example B, it gives you f of x is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 9. Because your power here is 2, that tells you that you're going to have two solutions, or two zeros. So if you set the x squared minus 6x plus 9 equal to 0 and you solved it, you would get x minus 3 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. So x would equal 3 twice. So again, two answers. Both of those 3's are your two answers. In something like example C, where you have the third degree polynomial of f of x is equal to x cubed plus 4x, your power here is 3, which tells you you're going to have 3 zeros, or 3 answers. So if we take x cubed plus 4x and set it equal to 0 to solve, you factor out the x to get x times x squared plus 4 is equal to 0. You then set the x equal to 0, set the x squared plus 4 equal to 0. X is equal to 0, already a solution. So I'm going to circle that one. Your x squared plus 4 is equal to 0. Subtract your 4 over. That's x squared is equal to negative 4. Take the square root of both sides. You know already that when you take the square root of both sides, you have to include the plus or minus. Because there's the negative underneath the radical, that negative comes out, is represented by I, and the square root of 4 is 2. So that's plus or minus 2i. So you have x is equal to 2i, and x is equal to negative 2i as well. So those two are solutions also. For something like D, where you have the fifth degree polynomial of f of x is equal to x to the fifth power plus 9x cubed, this is telling you you have a power of 5, so that's 5 solutions. If we factor out an x cubed, not an x squared, an x cubed, that would give you x squared plus 9 left over. The x cubed was set equal to 0. Your x squared plus 9 is set equal to 0. For the x cubed is equal to 0, if you take the cube root of both sides, you get x is equal to 0. However, it's a power of 3, so x is equal to 0 a total of 3 times. So all 3 of those are solutions. Then with the x squared plus 9 is equal to 0, move your 9 over, subtracting it from both sides. You get x squared is equal to negative 9. Take the square root of both sides, and you have x is equal to plus or minus 3i. So again, those are two solutions as well. And the next example that we're going to look at, it tells you to find the fourth degree polynomial function with real coefficients that has negative 1, 2, negative 4, and negative 3 as zeros, which means your solutions, or what x is equal to, is negative 1, 2, negative 4, and negative 3. So we are going to use x is equal to negative 1, x is equal to 2, x is equal to negative 4, and x is equal to negative 3. And we are going to find the polynomial in which these 4 solutions came from. So if that's the case, we need to move the negative 1 over, we need to move the 2 over, we need to move the negative 4 over, and we need to move the negative 3 over, so that way these 4 parts are equal to 0. So with x is equal to negative 1, we're going to add the 1 to the other side. That gives us x plus 1 is equal to 0. For x is equal to 2, move your 2 over by doing the opposite of it, so subtract it from both sides. That gives you x minus 2 is equal to 0. For x is equal to negative 4, add your 4 over, So that's x plus 4 is equal to 0. And then with the x is equal to negative 3, add your 3 over. That gives you x plus 3 is equal to 0. In most cases, it will tell you what to name the polynomial. So it'll either be f of x, g of x, h of x, p of x, q of x, any of that. We are going to use p of x in this case. So when we name this p of x, it's going to be equal to all 4 of these parts being multiplied together. So that is x plus 1 times x minus 2 times x plus 4 times x plus 3. Now my job is to multiply this out completely because I want the polynomial. It's not asking me for the factored form of the polynomial. This is the factored form of the polynomial. It's asking me for the full polynomial, so I have to multiply these out. I'm going to FOIL the first 2, FOIL the last 2, and then multiply everything together after that. So this is going to give us p of x is equal to x squared minus x minus 2 times x squared plus 7x plus 12. I just FOILed and combined like terms. Now from here, I'm going to distribute the x squared in, I'm going to distribute the negative x in, and I'm going to distribute the negative 2 into that second set of parentheses and combine like terms. So the x squared times x squared gives us x to the 4th. X squared times 7x is 7x cubed. X squared times 12 is 12x squared. The negative x times 7x is negative 7x squared. Negative x times 12 is negative 12x. I did not do the x times the x squared, so let's go back to this. The negative x times x squared is negative x cubed. Then we have negative 7x squared and negative 12x. Now we can move on to the negative 2 being distributed in. That negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. Then the negative 2 times 7x is negative 14x, and negative 2 times 12 gives us negative 24. Our last thing that we need to do here is just combine like terms. So we're going to have p of x is equal to the x to the 4th. Doesn't match with another x to the 4th, so we're going to keep it x to the 4th. We have 7x cubed minus x cubed, which is 6x cubed. So we put plus 6x cubed down. Next, we have 12x squared minus 7x squared minus 2x squared. The 12 minus 2 is 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. So that's a positive 3x squared. Next is our x's. So we have a negative 12x and a negative 14x, which is negative 26x. And lastly, our constant of negative 24. So all together, that gives us p of x is equal to x to the 4th power plus 6x cubed plus 3x squared minus 26x minus 24. The next part that we'll look at is finding all of the zeros. Some of these you'll be able to factor, some of them you won't. In this one, you can't factor x squared minus 2. So when we set this equal to 0 and we solve, we just got to move the 2 over. And we have x squared is equal to 2. Take the square root of both sides, and that gives us x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 2. Now, in most cases within this section, you will not be working with something like this.
Could you say that again?
Okay. Apparently my watch likes to listen to me. So like I said, you won't go ahead and be... When we look at an example like this, you are finding all of the zeros. There is no way to factor this. There is no hint onto how to solve it. So when that's the case, especially if you have more than 4 terms and you can't factor it, you are going to use synthetic division in order to solve. With using synthetic division, you're going to take your constant, so the number that does not have a letter attached to it, and find all of the factors of it. Using those factors, you are going to use synthetic division. Use synthetic division until you divide and get a remainder of 0. Once you get a remainder of 0, the number that was on the outside of that synthetic division is a solution. From there, take what's left over, get your new equation, keep working with it. Sometimes you're going to have to use synthetic division. Sometimes from that, you're going to have to factor. Okay? So if we look at this example, we're given f of x is equal to x to the 4th power minus 3x cubed plus 6x squared plus 2x minus 60. We got to find the factors of that negative 60. So that's going to give us plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 6, plus or minus 10, plus or minus 12, plus or minus 15, plus or minus 20, plus or minus 30, and plus or minus 60. Typically, I'd start with 1, then -1, 2, -2, see which ones work. So I'm going to work with 1 first, see if that gives me a 0 as a remainder. If it doesn't, I know that that's not a solution. So on the inside of my synthetic division, I'm going to have 1, -3, 6, 2, and -60. The 1 comes down, then multiplies with 1. That's 1. Minus 3 is -2. Times 1 is -2. 6 minus 2 is 4. Times 1 is 4. Plus 2 is 6. Times 1 is 6. That gives you -54. That 1 does not give you a 0 as a remainder, so it's not a solution. So we pick a different number. If I choose 2, again, I'm going to have 1, -3, 6, 2, and -60 on the inside. The 1 I drop down times 2 is positive 2. -3 plus 2 is -1. Times 2 is -2. 6 minus 2 is 4. Times 2 gives us 8. Plus 2 is 10. Times 2 is 20. That gives us -40. It's closer, but still not 0 as a remainder. So that 2 is not an answer either. I'm going to try -2. Again, we have 1, -3, 6, 2, and -60 on the inside. 1 drops down. 1 times -2 is -2. -3 minus 2 is -5. Times -2 is 10. Plus 6 is 16. Times -2 is -32. Plus 2 is -30. Times -2 is positive 60. Minus 60 is 0. That gives us the 0 that we're looking for. So I'm going to circle that -2 and work with what I have left over with my synthetic division. So I have a constant of -30, an x that's going to go to the 16, an x squared that goes to the -5, and an x cubed that goes to the 1. So now my job is to solve x cubed minus 5x squared plus 16x minus 30 is equal to 0. Once again, I can't factor this. Even though I have 4 terms, I can't factor by grouping. So I'm going to use synthetic division. So I find my factors of the -30, and I start all over again. I have plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 6, plus or minus 10, plus or minus 15, and plus or minus 30. For this one, because I used 1 and it didn't work, I'm not going to try the 1. Because I used 2 and it didn't work, I'm not going to try the 2. I tried -2, that worked, so I'm going to move to 3, see if that works. So with the 3 on the outside, I'm going to have 1, -5, 16, and -30 on the inside. Our 1 drops down. 1 times 3 is 3. Minus 5 is -2. Times 3 is -6. Plus 16 is 10. Times 3 is positive 30. Minus 30 is 0. This gives us a 0 for a remainder, which means that 3 is a solution. So that 10 that's left over is going to be my constant. -2 is going to get an x. 1 gets x squared. So now I have to solve x squared minus 2x plus 10 is equal to 0. From here, you actually can't factor this because you don't have factors of 10 that add up to negative 2. So if you cannot factor it, use your quadratic formula. Remember, your quadratic formula is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So in that case, your a is 1, b is negative 2, c is 10. So that's going to give us x is equal to the opposite of negative 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 10 all over 2 times 1. So that's going to give us x is equal to 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 40 all over 2. The 4 minus 40 is negative 36, so that's 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 36 all over 2. The negative comes out, represent it with I. The square root of 36 is 6, so x is equal to 2 plus or minus 6i all over 2. The 2 in the denominator can be divided out, so this gives you 1 plus or minus 6i. So these are solutions also. So if you look here, at the very beginning, you had a power of 4. Your solutions are x is equal to negative 2, x is equal to 3, x is equal to 1 minus 6i, and x is equal to 1 plus 6i. All 4 of these are your solutions. For your next example, you're given f of x is equal to x to the 4th power plus 4x cubed minus 7x squared minus 34x minus 24. Your factors of that negative 24 are plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 6, plus or minus 8, plus or minus 12, and plus or minus 24. If we pick 1, on the inside we're going to have 1, 4, negative 7, negative 34, and negative 24. We drop down the 1. Times 1 is 1, plus 4 is 5, times 1 is 5, minus 7 is negative 2, times 1 is negative 2, minus 34 is negative 36, times 1 is negative 36. That does not give us 0 as a denominator. It's actually negative 60. So this 1 does not work. We pick another number. I'm going to try 2. So again, 1, 4, negative 7, negative 34, negative 24. 1 drops down, times 2 is 2, plus 4 is 6, times 2 is 12, minus 7 gives us 4, times 2 is 8, minus 34 is, why can't I think of this, minus 27, no, 26, times 2 is not 24, so that one does not work either. Let's try negative 2. We have 1, 4, negative 7, negative 34, negative 24. 1 drops down, times 2 is negative 2. 4 minus 2 is 2, times 2 is negative 4. Minus 7 gives us negative 11, times 2 is positive 22. The 4 minus 2 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. It stays negative. Times negative 20. Negative 2 is positive 24. That gives us the 0 we're looking for. So that negative 2 is a solution. 12 is going to be your constant. That 11 is going to be your x. 2 is going to be x squared. 1 gets x cubed. So now you are solving x cubed plus 2x squared minus 11x minus 12 is equal to 0. For this one, your factors of the 12 are plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 6, and plus or minus 12. I tried 1 and I tried 2, so I'm not going to try those on my next one. So instead, I'm going to try 3. We're going to have 1, 2, negative 11, and negative 12 on the inside. 1 drops down, times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5, times 3 is 15, minus 11 is 4, times 3 is 12. That gives us 0. So this is the 0 we're looking for. This 3 is also a solution. 4 is going to be your constant. 5 gets x, 1 gets x squared. So now we're solving x squared plus 5x plus 4 is equal to 0. This one you can factor because your factors of 4 that add up to 5 are 1 and 4. So this gives you x plus 1 times x plus 4 is equal to 0. If we set both of these equal to 0 and solve, we get x is equal to negative 1 and x is equal to negative 4. So we have these two as solutions as well. Again, from the very beginning, your power is 4, so you need 4 solutions. You have x is equal to negative 2, x is equal to 3, x is equal to negative 1, and x is equal to negative 4. For your next example, you're finding the zeros of f of x is equal to x to the 4th power minus 4x cubed plus 3x squared plus 4x minus 4. Your constant in this one is the negative 4, which has factors of plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, and plus or minus 4. I'm going to start with the 1. I have 1, negative 4, 3, positive 4, and negative 4 on the inside. Our 1 drops down. Times 1 is 1, minus 4 is negative 3, times 1 is negative 3, plus 3 is 0, times 1 is 1, is 0, plus 4 is 4, times 1 is 4, minus 4 is 0. So this one gives you the 0 as a remainder. That 1 is a solution. You're going to now work with 4 is your constant, 0 gets x, the negative 3 gets x squared, and 1 gets x cubed. So you have x cubed minus 3x squared plus 0x plus 4 is equal to 0. I keep the 0x in because I cannot factor this by grouping since there are 4 terms, so I'm just going to use my synthetic division. I'm working with a 4 again, so I still have factors of 1 and negative 1, 2 and negative 2, 4 and negative 4. So I already tried the 1. I'm going to try negative 1 this time. So I have 1, negative 3, 0, and 4. I'm going to bring down the 1. Times negative 1 is negative 1. Negative 3 times plus negative 1 is negative 4. Times negative 1 is positive 4. Plus 0 is 4. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. Once again, I get the 0 as my remainder, so that negative 1 is a solution. I'm now working with x squared minus 4x plus 4 is equal to 0. Our factors of 4 that add up to be negative 4 are negative 2 and negative 2. So that's x minus 2 times x minus 2 is equal to 0. If I set both of these equal to 0 and I solve, I get that x is equal to 2 both times. I also have solutions of x is equal to negative 1 and x is equal to positive 1. So all 4 of our solutions are 2, 2, negative 1, and positive 1. It tells you to write the polynomial f of x is equal to x to the 4th power minus x squared minus 20 as a product of factors. So this one you're not solving. This one you're writing it as a product, so as a multiplication expression. So if this equation is named f of x, you're going to keep it named f of x. However, you're just going to factor it completely. You have factors of that negative 20 that add up to be negative 1, of 4, and negative 5. Your power on the x, that's first, is 4. So when you separate this, this is x squared plus 4 and x squared minus 5. And again, this is equal to f of x. With this, you do not have a difference of squares for either of these sets of parentheses, so you cannot continue to factor it. This is completely factored. This would be your answer. if we look at our next example, we have f of x is equal to x cubed minus 6x squared minus 9x plus 14. We're doing the same thing with this that we did with the one before this. We're writing the polynomial as a product of factors. So we're going to factor it completely. Can we, since there's 4 terms, factor this by grouping? Well, if you do factor it by grouping, the only thing you can take out from the negative 9x plus 14 would be negative 1. So we're not going to factor this by grouping. We're going to find the factors of 14. We have plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 7.
Can I sit right there?
And plus or minus 14. From here, you're going to use synthetic division. So pick the factors that you think may work. Use it in synthetic division. That's the factor is going to go on the outside. You want to find the one that gives you 0 as a remainder. So if we start with 1, on the inside we're going to have 1, negative 6, negative 9, and 14. Your 1 is going to drop down. 1 times 1 is 1. Minus 6 is negative 5. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Negative 9 minus 5 is negative 14. Negative 14 times 1 is negative 14. This gives you 0. So since you have 0 as your remainder, this 1 is a solution. From here, you have the trinomial x squared minus 5x minus 14 is equal to 0. So you need to find the factors of negative 14 that add up to be negative 5. This negative 14 gives you 2 and negative 7 that add up to be negative 5. So you're going to factor this to give you x plus 2 times x minus 7 is equal to 0. Remember, we're not solving this. So that x is equal to 1, you need to move over and have that binomial included in the x plus 2 times x minus 7. So if we move that 1 over, we subtract it from both sides. That gives you x minus 1 is equal to 0. So the 3 binomials that you have are the x minus 1, the x minus 7, and the x plus 2. So write those all together and set it equal to that f of x. So f of x is equal to x plus 2 times x minus 7 times x minus 1. For our next example, we have f of x is equal to x to the 4th power minus 13x squared plus 36. For this one, you want to find your factors of 36 that add up to be negative 13. That 36 is 1 and 36, 2 and 15. Remember, the 36 is positive, so we need both negatives with here in order to give us the negative 13. Negative 2 minus 15 is not negative 13. You also have 3 and 12. Again, they both have to be negative, still not negative 13. You have 4 and 9 as well. If those are both negative, that gives you the negative 13 that you're looking for. So this factors to give us f of x is equal to x squared. Remember, we had x to the 4th power in the beginning. Minus 4 and x squared minus 9. Both of these, thank you, can continue to be factored. Your x minus 4 is a difference of squares. So that's going to give you f of x is equal to x minus 2 times x plus 2. The x squared minus 9 is also a difference of squares. So that factors to give you x minus 3 times x plus 3. So these are all completely factored now. Your answer is that f of x is equal to x minus 2 times x plus 2 times x minus 3 times x plus 3. From the last page of your notes, it tells you, given the zeros, write the polynomial. So these are giving you what your answers are. You are going to move those terms over, get the binomials, and multiply them all together. For example, A, you have x is equal to negative 2, x is equal to 4, and x is equal to negative 5. So you have 3 zeros here, which means your highest power when you're completely finished with that polynomial is going to be x cubed. So we're going to start this by moving the 2 over, and we'll add it to both sides. That gives us x plus 2 is equal to 0. We'll also move the 4 over by subtracting it from both sides. So that gives us x minus 4 is equal to 0. And then we'll add the 5 over to give us x plus 5 is equal to 0. For these, since there are 3 of these, you're going to set this up as a polynomial of factors. So that's going to give you x plus 2 times x minus 4 times x plus 5. You can set this all equal to 0. From here, you're just going to fact or FOIL out 2 of those and then distribute in the last one. So if we start with the last 2, we're going to have x plus 2 times x squared plus 5x minus 4x minus 20 is equal to 0. We combine like terms in the second set of parentheses, and that gives us x plus 2 times x squared plus x minus 20 is equal to 0. Now we're going to distribute the x and the 2 and combine like terms. So x times x squared is x cubed, x times x is x squared, x times negative 20 is negative 20x. Now the 2 goes in, so 2 times x squared is 2x squared, and 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times negative 20 is negative 40 is equal to 0. From here, combine your like terms. Drop your x cubed down because it doesn't match with any other x cubed. You have x squared plus 2x squared, which is 3x squared. Then you have negative 20x plus 2x, which gives you negative 18x, and then that minus 40 is equal to 0. Our highest power here, when all of our terms are combined that are like terms, is 3. We had 3 solutions from the very beginning, or 3 zeros, so we know we're in the right direction with this. For example B, we're given x is equal to 3 halves, x is equal to 1, x is equal to 2, and x is equal to negative 2/5. The first thing that we're going to do here is simplify that x is equal to 3 halves first and move the 2 over. By doing that, we are going to multiply each side by 2 to get it out of the denominator. That's going to give us 2x is equal to 3. Next, we move the 3 over by subtracting it, and we have 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. For x is equal to 1, we move the 1 over by subtracting it, so we get x minus 1 is equal to 0. For the x is equal to 2, move the 2 over by subtracting it, we have x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now this x is equal to negative 2/5, same thing as the first one. We're going to get the 5 out of the denominator first, so we're going to multiply it by each side. That gives us 5x is equal to negative 2. From here, we move the 2 over by adding it to both sides, and that gives us 5x plus 2 is equal to 0. So if we write this as a product of factors, we have 2x minus 3 times x minus 1 times x minus 2 times 5x plus 2 is equal to 0. I'm going to FOIL out the first 2 sets of parentheses. I'll FOIL out the last 2 sets of parentheses, and then I'll multiply what I have from both together. So starting with the 2x minus 3 times x plus 1. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. Next, I'm going to FOIL out the x minus 2 times 5x plus 2. X times 5x is 5x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x. And negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. From here, we combine like terms inside both sets of these parentheses. So inside the first set, you have negative 2x minus 3x. That's going to give us negative 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. The second set of parentheses, you have 2x and negative 10x, and that's going to leave you with 5x squared minus 8x minus 4. From here, we're going to multiply these 2 trinomials together. So we're going to start with the 2x squared, multiply it into the second set of parentheses. So 2x squared times 5x squared is 10x to the fourth power. 2x squared times negative 8x is negative 16x cubed. 2x squared times negative 4 is negative 8x squared. Now multiply the negative 5x in. Negative 5x times 5x squared is negative 25x cubed. Negative 5x times negative 8x is positive 40x squared. Negative 5x times negative 4 is positive 20x. Now multiply the 3 in. So 3 times 5x squared is 15x squared. The 3 times the negative 8x is negative 24x. And 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And this is all equal to 0. From here, we combine like terms. Bless you. So to combine like terms, the 10x to the fourth, there is no other x to the fourth, so we're going to drop that down. Next, we have negative 16x cubed, then negative 25x cubed. They're both negative, so you're going to keep the negative. The 6 and the 5, bless you, give you 1. Carry the 1. The 1 plus 2 gives you 4, so that's negative 41x cubed. Next, you have negative 8x squared plus 40x squared plus 15x squared. If we do the negative 8 plus 40, that's 32. Then 32 plus 15 gives us a positive 47x squared. Next, we have the 20x and the negative 24x, which we subtract those, and we get negative 4x. That negative 12 does not match with another constant, so we drop it down, make sure the whole thing is equal to 0. So that gives us 10x to the fourth minus 41x cubed plus 47x squared minus 4x minus 12 is equal to 0. For our last example, we have x is equal to 1/2, x is equal to negative 2, x is equal to 6, and x is equal to negative 2. For the x is equal to 1/2, we're going to start by multiplying each side by 2. So that gives us 2x is equal to 1. From there, we subtract 1 from both sides, and that's 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. For the x is equal to negative 2, we add the 2 over. That gives us x plus 2 is equal to 0. For x is equal to negative 6, we add the 6 over. That gives us x plus 6 is equal to 0. And for the x is equal to negative 2, again, we add the 2 over, and we're left with x plus 2 is equal to 0. So to write this as a product of factors, we have 2x minus 1 times x plus 2 times x plus 6 times x plus 2 is equal to 0. From here, we're going to start foiling things out, starting with the first two sets of parentheses. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Next, with the x plus 6 times x plus 2, that's going to give us x squared plus 2x plus 6x plus 12. And this is all equal to 0. We combine like terms within each set of parentheses to get 2x squared plus 3x minus 2 times x squared plus 8x plus 12 is equal to 0. Starting with distributing the 2x squared into the second set of parentheses, we have 2x to the fourth power plus 16x cubed plus 24x squared. Then with the 3x into the second set of parentheses, it gives us 3x cubed plus 24x squared plus 36x. Then with the negative 2 in, we have negative 2x squared minus 16x minus 24 is equal to 0. So from here, we're just going to combine like terms. So we have that 2x to the fourth and no other x to the fourth. So we're going to just write down 2x to the fourth. Then we have 16x cubed plus 3x cubed, which gives us 19x cubed. Then 24x squared plus 24x squared, that's 48x squared, minus 2x squared is 46x squared. Then we have 36x minus 16x. The 6 minus 6 is 0. Then the 3 minus 1 is 2, so that's 20x. And then minus 24 is equal to 0.